Okay.
at least in
So,
my opinion. So, so that's kind of why I chose her. When I started with Lux. I don't know why. That's just a champion I started playing when I started the game. So I don't know. I kind of got the skill shot thing in my blood pretty early.
okay. I'm gonna
Um,
throw a bit of like stuff your way for you to think about, just general knowledge and experience and things like that. And now this is for you to take and do what you will with. It's not
mhm.
anything that's set in stone. It's just from my experience and watching a lot of other people who coach and just experience climbing up.
Okay.
The and again, it's if you really really love Nami, then stick with her. If she's someone you really really liked playing, because she's fun and that's fine, and it'll keep you interested in the game.
Mhm.
If your biggest goal, if the most way that you're going to enjoy this game is by moving up and progressing,
Mhm.
then Nami is going to take you significantly longer to do that with because of her skill set and the skill cap that's required to play her effectively. I've heard I've heard some high level coaches like of LCS teams that say Nami shouldn't even be played outside of Diamond just because of her skill set. Now there's a couple reasons of that's what they suggest, and that's one
Mhm.
because she is very very skill shot oriented
Mhm.
and mechanics. If you're below at least below gold, then you have significant mechanical flaws. Some people even say if you're below diamond, like you can get not necessarily that you have tons of flaws below diamond, but you can get to diamond alone on mechanics if your mechanics are good enough.
Sure.
So just keep in mind that she has a lot of mechanics, and then there's a lot of decision making that goes into her in terms of when to use your slow, how to use your slow, if you're going to use it to land skill shots, if you're going to use it to peel, whether or not your ADC is capable. The other thing is that Nami is very dependent on her team. She doesn't have any, except for her bubble, which is great, but is difficult to
Mhm.
land. Like her ultimate is not a hard CC by any means, and she's very team reliant. She doesn't bring much damage to the table at all. So your ADC and with the slow, your ADC needs to know how to use a slow, when to use a slow, and things of that nature. And if you ult, people need to know to go in on it, which they don't always know to do. It's not like a
Right.
Malphite ult where you fly across the map. Like I'm sure you've seen that you ult and nobody responds, and it's like,
Oh, absolutely. It's so frustrating.
yeah. So
It's like,
that's
okay, so
So here we are.
yeah, it's like I play her in,
So you
of
ever
course,
run
I'm in
out?
bronze,
mhm
and it feels like I know what I'm trying to do and I know what I'm doing,
mhm
but nobody responds to the things that I do,
mhm.
and I try to explain it the best that I can, and it just I don't know if it's the skill level of the people that I'm around or what. So
All right. Well, there's a couple things. One, what I need you to do, and although
Yeah, yeah,
what
we'll
you
go
just
on
said
about
has a
now.
lot of merit to it, there are going to be people that you're playing with that are not going to understand the game.
sure,
There's a lot to be said about the basics of the game and understanding and really grasping them, and that's not going to happen in bronze.
right,
Um, so you have to recognize the skill level of the people around you and respect that while they can make good plays and they can have opportunities to do that, you can't expect them to play at a diamond level, which is one of the
sure,
reasons that people like Nami, Janna, Soraka, and things like that are not nearly as effective in lower elos as they would be in diamond or challenger. Um, I wouldn't even say that they're more effective in plat, but again, people in plat are missing, there are basic concepts that are not perfected in plat. Otherwise, everyone in plat would be in diamond. So even me, like there are basic concepts that even if I know them, I can't execute them as perfectly as I should.
sure,
Um, so that's just the thought. The other thing is that with Nami, and this is more on your end, um, and I tell this about any high skill cap champion because her Thresh, they're two of the highest skill cap supports. And there's
sure,
something very rewarding about playing a high skill cap champion. It makes you feel good. But the reality is that all that time that you're thinking and you're putting all of that effort into figuring out how to land your bubbles and how to slow and when to slow, if you had a very straightforward champion, then while you're getting knowledge of that champion and you can, move forward with that, and there are people who are one trick ponies, but generally they're not, they didn't start off on high skill cap champions in bronze, is
Hmm.
because all that time you're spending trying to figure out Nami is time that you're not spending trying to figure out the game. So if that makes sense. So if you played
Sure,
someone
sure,
really straightforward, like, oh, okay, so I watch Last Shadow Coach a lot. I don't know if you know who he is, but I can link him to you later.
sure.
He's an LCS coach, right? He was
Okay.
teaching a Diamond Z main. All right. And he had a audio lesson with him, and then he had a streaming lesson with him, like where he actually watched a replay.
Mhm.
And he advised this Diamond Z main, you need to play Annie. And I know that she's not as rewarding because she's not whatever, but you need to play Annie because you don't understand the basics of this game. Like, he straight up told that to a Diamond player.
Mhm.
So there is a lot to be said about understanding beyond your champion. And that's one of the reasons that I suggest you take very straightforward champions, because he used this example. One second, because I have children bailing out in the background.
Oh, no, no, no problem.
Okay. Um, so, and I'll send you the video, and I think that it'll give you a lot of perspective on just how much there is to improve at every level. So when you start thinking, oh, I just need my teammates to do more, it's really all about like a winning attitude. Like, the people who are champions, it's not about what their team does. It's all about what they do.
Sure.
So, but he basically did like a basic Annie flowchart. It was like, go to lane, CS, get 6. Did they misstep? If yes, flash ult kill. If not, do nothing. Like, Annie is that straightforward. And she has a lot of team presence and all of that. But the point is that when you know a champion, because she's very easy to grasp, and I'm not saying you have to
Mhm.
pick Annie. There's a ton
Right.
of champions who are easy like that. But it allows you to do things like watch the game, watch the map, figure out itemization and things like that, which you're spending a lot of time trying to do while you're figuring out how to play Nami to her skill cap level, which is around a diamond level. So you're taking a lot of energy into that instead of the game.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
but
That
like I
makes
said, if
sense.
you really, really enjoy her, then you should keep playing her. I'm just throwing out a little bit of experience so that you can make a decision on what route you want to take.
No, and I think that makes perfect sense. She's not an easy champion to use. She's a very situational. When do I do this? When do I do that?
Exactly.
I have a lot of fun playing her, and you're absolutely correct when you bring up the points of, your team and your ADC and everything have to be on point with, some of the things that you're trying to do yourself. Because if you don't, then she's just kind of sitting there throwing bubbles and doing whatever for no particular reason.
Right. And it's not, I don't bring up your teammates as like an excuse. I'm
Right.
very careful mentioning teammates, but you have to understand, while it's your responsibility to carry your team, you have to respect the skill level of your teammates and where they are. And you cannot expect more of them than they can bring to the table. So if you're bringing a pure utility champion, which is what Nami is, she's a pure utility champion, you're
Absolutely.
relying 100% on your team.
That makes a lot of sense. So what would be the best, I guess, in this instance for myself moving forward? What would be some of the better supports to use to, like an Annie or something like that?
Annie is amazing. I mean, Annie is good at every level of the game. She's really straightforward. Annie bot is challenger and literally only plays Annie. I don't know if you've ever watched him play, but it's stupid. And he just plays nothing but Annie. So he's viable. Annie's viable in every single level. Um, Early levels, like when you're lower level ranked, you can build her damage and carry that way. Or if you want to
Mm.
build her utility, you have a stun, and I'm sure you've noticed in bronze, people tend to stand on top of each other. It's really easy to get 4 or 5 man ults off. So she has that hard engage factor, which is good too. Um, who else is really good? Any of the damage champions are Zyra. Sona's really good. She has damage and hard CC. Zyra, people don't know how to deal with her poke, and she has a ton of damage later in the game. And then anyone with like a hard CC. So Leona's really good. Um, Tarek is good at low elos, and he's really easy to play. I mean, he's a point and click stun, and then you just walk in and auto attack people. He's
Right.
really easy.
Okay.
So I
Do you
would
want me to
try
go
a
ahead
few
and
different
play?
ones.
You want me to go ahead and play, and then we'll talk after the match, or?
Yep, absolutely. I forgot
Okay.
that you were. I have a delay.
That's
All right.
okay. No worries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Our fates are intertwined. Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Okay, so in this situation, you guys are Nami, Caitlyn, and you're against a Morgana, Kalista. You guys definitely have the lane advantage. You have a crazy amount of poke, and Morgana, if you can land a bubble or your ult, she can only shield one of you at a time, so while she can kind of outplay you with the shield if you are trying to bubble just one of them, there are still a lot of opportunities for you to make plays, and Kalista is a very... that was a good bubble. Kalista is a very weak early game champion. So with Cait Nami, you should be able to out-bully them. Alright, you should have been a little bit closer so that you could have helped a little bit more efficiently. You don't need to stand in tri-bush. Nobody's going to gank you from there. Alright, you're up against a Morgana, so you need to help push. Because her pool is automatically going to push the wave. So you guys are going to be... you're not going to hit level 2 in time. And if they hit level 2 first, they can actually do a significant amount of damage to you. If you're worried about your ADC getting upset, that was a good bubble. If you're worried about your ADC getting upset, then you just want to prep them. Tell them at like level, like when you first get into game, that you're gonna help push her 2, and at level 2 you're gonna all in. And usually they're fine with that at that point. Tell them you're not gonna take CS, you're just gonna help them push. You a little bit earlier, now you're fine. Oh, that was good. You need to be offering presence with Caitlyn, so you always need to be standing next to her. Because if you're standing back here like you just were, and they go on Caitlyn, you cannot respond as quickly. If you're worried about Morg, then you should be standing over here behind minions. Or just practice dodging back and forth. You're moving up and back. You're moving very predictably. Oop, and you're too far up now. So in this situation, again, you want to be near Caitlyn because in that point, she was too far back because she was CSing. And you got engaged on and she couldn't respond to you. So you took a lot of harass that you didn't need to. You want for your cursor to be going back and forth and making your champion move in erratic movements so that they can't predict where you're going to be, so that the bindings are a lot harder to hit. That was a good heal. If your ADC is ever having a hard time CSing under tower, you can use your slow to help her, because it does have that extra damage proc on it. Alright, you don't want to be warding here, you want to be saving these wards for a river. You are pretty pushed the whole time, and that's fine, so this is an okay place. But if you're pushing up at all, then you want to be able to use your ward for river. Alright, you have all of this mana. You need to be trading your mana for their life, for their HP. Don't worry, her pool does no damage, and the only reason to really worry about pool is it gives her money. But in general, I wouldn't worry about it so much that you're not going to be a presence in your lane. When you see Nami, or sorry, Nidalee coming, okay, you guys started responding. Alright, in that situation, what I would have actually done is, I actually don't remember. I didn't see if you put the slow on Cait before that, but a really great way to make sure you're hitting more bubbles is to actually put your slow on yourself. Hit one of them so that they're walking away slower, and then it's easier to land the bubble where they are going to be. In that situation, it's just a mechanics thing where you miss the bubble on Morg because her movement speed is nowhere near enough to get to where you had the bubble. Alright, you're panicking a little bit with your bubbles right now. I think you feel pressured. And you're throwing out bubbles where they don't really have a chance of landing. And again, that's just a mechanical thing that is easy to work on. The good thing about mechanical things is anyone can learn mechanics. It's just literally muscle memory. So as long as you practice and you think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, you can definitely learn any of these mechanics. And this is why you use a ward in river. Cait will probably die. Oh, nope, she won't. She got out. That's good. Alright, so in this situation, this whole time, you never pinged Morg missing from lane. And when you're in a 1v2 or 2v1 situation, you need to be up in her face. Like, you should have been standing on her minions, not allowing her to get any XP or any gold. You need to just punish her. I'm not sure what Morg is doing. She might be lagging. But again, in this situation, you need to be up a little bit farther. You need to pressure her. That was good, but you didn't follow up with it at all. It looks like Morg DC'd, so again, you need to be pinging that you don't know where she is. She's been gone for a long time now, and you didn't have vision of her. You still don't have vision of her. So you really need to be pinging that, and you need to be punishing her for being alone and being far up. At this point, she should have gone back, and she should be waiting at tower for you to push the wave. If she's not, then you easily could have killed her or just completely zoned her out of XP. Alright, and then in this situation, oh, I don't know what just happened. I guess Morg is back. Alright. Alright, we're gonna go back to that real quick. Alright, so in this situation, you knew Nidalee was coming. Caitlyn was there. You should have been there helping Nidalee out. You should have healed her. You could have given her... There's just more situations that you could have done. And then don't forget to auto-attack. Just because you're Nami and you're support, you need to be auto-attacking every single chance you get. So every time Kalista goes in for CS, you need to auto-attack. Every time Morg is out of position, you need to auto-attack. You need to be helping push this wave right now so that you can all go back. Auto, 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 auto. Don't be afraid of taking minions. If you take minions and whatever, mute everybody when you get in game. And again, you guys were pushed up that whole time and you didn't have a ward. If you're pushed up, then you need to have a ward in this tri-bush all the time. With just yourself and your ADC having a trinket, you can have 24/7 vision on this ward. Let's see what you bought. You bought your Sightstone. You got a pink, which is great. And you remember to switch out your trinket, which is good. What I would do, though, is I would honestly upgrade my GP10 first. Just because when you don't, it's actually lost revenue for you. So it kind of prevents you from snowballing and making a bigger impact on your team. If you had gotten the pink, you put the pink right here, and you put... you keep putting your trinkets up there, even if you wanted to grab an extra green ward. And then you would have plenty of vision for your lane at this point in the game. You guys, when they're really low and you guys have a lot of health, you need to be pushing up. You need to be punishing them. You need to be harassing them. That was actually a really good E. It allowed... You did it as her projectile was in the air, which actually gave her the bonus damage. Which is one of the most effective ways to use E, actually, because if a lot of times if you use E, the enemy will back off because they know that you're going to be punishing them with it, so they'll back off. But if you put it in midair, then you don't have to worry about that. They can't see it coming, they can't dodge it. Alright, again, it's just a mechanical aspect. If you're going to be taking a skill shot oriented champion, you have to be very confident hitting most of those skill shots. Again, you guys don't have a ward up here. It'd be really easy for Shaka to come through here, disappear, and come behind you, and you'd never see him coming. They had an inefficient recall because there was one of them in lane and not the other. But that's something that you need to punish them for again. If you're in a 2v1 situation, make them, like, just hate the day. Make them never want to play this game again. Alright, you're using your skill shots a little bit too much. You don't have very good mana management. So you've already used your blue pot and you haven't really gotten anything out of it. You've missed several bubbles and you've used E a few times when nothing can really come of it. So that's something to be aware of. You need to get a ward on dragon. Shaco can solo dragon. So you should, now that you have sight zone, you should put one in try, you should put one at drag. And that will give you a little bit more control over those objectives. Again, Kalista has no mana. You need to be up a little bit further. Go ahead, use your ult. Oh, she got you. Okay, so let's go back and look at that real quick. Alright, so... Alright, so she's walking towards you. It's very obvious that this is about to occur. What you needed to do is you need to walk back or forwards. And you need to do so that you could get your ultimate off. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe that Morg's snare still allows you to... I know it allows you to auto-attack, not abilities. So you should have been autoing. If you had been autoing this whole time, then possibly they would have backed off, or possibly you could have gotten out of this situation or killed one of them even if you died. So you just need to be a little bit more responsive of that. And did you have flash up? You used flash, so what you should have done... Let's look at it one more time. Sorry, I'm making you watch the same thing over and over. Okay. A little bit too far. Where'd it go? Okay. So what you needed to do was as soon as you got into snare, let me pause it and get my pen thing out. Okay. So I'm actually not sure if you'll be able to see this. I'm actually going to Alright, so what you want to do in this situation is you know that she is most likely going to come here. Oh, you can't see the pen, so that's not going to work actually. Which is unfortunate. Let's see properties. Okay, that's not gonna work. Anyways. Alright, I'll fix that later. So what's gonna happen here is she's gonna bind you. Now you snare her. Her snare lasts a lot longer than your bubble. Unfortunately, it's just Morg is crazy like that. So you need to jump right now. What you need to do was you need to flash either into this bush or on the other side of Morg. Okay? Now what that is going to do is give you positioning away from Kalista. And it'll be unexpected. So when she goes and she tries to throw her spear into you, she won't really know how to respond to it. If you had done that a little bit earlier, then you should be flashing, ulting, and then you might have been able to, you would have been able to walk away this way, and at the very least, Cait could have gotten the kill off on Morgana. So you see this, she's telegraphing this, right? She's facing you, you can see where her cursor is because she's facing you. Flash up here, turn around, and ult. It wouldn't have done anything to Morg, but it would have created a situation where they had to follow you into Caitlyn. So that's an opportunity. And she ends up getting the kill here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and speed up just to get back to where you come back into the game. Alright, so you know that she got the game. She got... Alright, so responding to your team was good. You have your sight ward and you haven't been using it yet. This is a waste of a pink. Dragon is up. There's no reason to pink ward it for the next 6 minutes just because they know where it is, they can kill it, and it doesn't offer you any other vision other than you know they don't have a ward in Dragon, but why do you care? Because it's already gone. There's nothing to do. You guys are dancing around Dragon Pit and there's no objective to take. Taking this isn't bad, but really you should be taking that before you do Dragon so that you have that speed buff for your team when you're playing. Alright, so responding to your team here is good. In case you didn't know, the way you can tell Shaco clone from his regular, there's a few. One of them is that buffs do not show on the clone. Help push. You can auto attack things, even though it's not like an incredibly strong auto attack. It's still effective. It still does damage. Alright, yeah, you need to work a little bit on your bubbles and your mechanics in general. You should be hitting about 85% of them if you want to be effective with a champion. So if you're not, then it's definitely an area of opportunity. That was a good bubble. I'm not sure if you meant to predict that, but you did a good job. Alright. Also, just so you know, a little bit of random knowledge. If you come up behind and kill this before it sees you, it doesn't make any noise. Just so you know. It's only really relevant if you're trying to gank somebody. Alright, I'm not sure who's pinging, but Garen is actually fine. You should warn him when people leave your lane and go to him. But split pushing is legitimately one of the easiest ways to carry out of bronze. So if he's being effective split pushing, then that's something that you can, not freak out about him doing. He's 3-1. He has 94 CS compared to the rest of their team. Like Vlad has 51. He's doing fine, and he's taking tower, so he's doing his job. You're recalling... you upgraded that. I assume that you're going for a locket, or maybe you're going for a chalice. We'll see in a second. Your team was still being pretty aggressive here, and you had full health, and you had about 20% mana. I would have just stayed and make sure that your team was okay, or I would have pinged back and let them know that you were leaving. You got chalice, so yeah, I mean, it was an efficient back. You definitely got something out of it, but just be aware of those sort of situations. He's gonna go wicked ham here, isn't he? Oh, he got him. Nice. Alright, so you should have a pink on your in your inventory at all times. Anytime you go to fight or you're looking to start a fight, you need to throw a pink down for the Shaco. It will just help you in general identify him when he disappears. Instead of getting the chalice in this situation, I 100% would have gotten Aegis. For a couple reasons. One, it will be very effective against just Morgana. It will also be effective against Vlad and his ultimate. It's extremely effective. And then Kassadin. So you have you're against 3 APs. You did the right thing by getting MR, but you should have been looking for Aegis, which gives your entire team magic resist. Alright. Garen is beast mode. Alright, that was a good sweep. These wards are good, but I would, when it's clear and you know where people are, then I would actually put a ward in this bush here. That gives you a lot of extra vision. That's also a really good place for pink. It's one of those places that people, one of those bushes that people just don't walk through. Alright, so yep, okay, you're autoing the tower this time, which is really good. Alright, so you know dragon is coming up in 40 seconds. You should have been pinging that at about a minute 30. You should be telling your team that it's coming up. And then at about a minute, you should be telling your team to get there and prep for it. And then, or about a minute actually, you should be taking crab. And then you want to just make sure that your team's headed there at 30 seconds so that you get there when it spawns. Alright, so if you guys decided to pressure this, that's fine, but you need to be regrouping at dragon. Alright, so it looks like Nidalee is prepping for it. But you need to be with her. It's your job to keep track of these timers. And if you guys had done it early enough, then you would have been able to get this and save your tower. Which you do end up doing, but that's partially an error on their part, and you don't want to respond or rely on an error on their part to be effective. That was a good ultimate. Alright, you should be using E on Caitlyn. She has stupid range. Let her slow down. Yeah, see, it's just not going to be as effective on someone like Garen because he has to get in range to auto attack. And then he didn't even auto attack, he just used abilities, so. Oh, that's unfortunate. So help push all this. Someone's got top, so you should have been pinging this. And Caitlyn should not have gone bot. But since she did, you guys need to back out. That was a really good bubble. That was a really good disengage. You want to drop wards as you go. Oh, see? Right there, it didn't scream at you because you got from the side. But you want to be dropping wards as you go. You could have replaced this ward as you were running away. And that way you'd have vision if they were going to collapse on you later. It would also give Cait some vision in bot so that she knows she's not going to be collapsed on. Heal Nidalee. You would heal up. Nidalee almost died. Yeah, your bubbles just need a lot of work. Alright. In this situation, you want to be right up with your team. Don't hang back too far. If you need to heal, heal yourself. You have Chalice, you have mana. You have 2,000 gold available to you now. There's no reason to have that much gold. You definitely should have recalled somewhere in there. You, as a support, should never have more than like 1,000 gold to spend. So you need to go ahead and you need to upgrade, what do they have on their team? You probably want to go ahead and get Mikhail's because you're against the Morg. And usually if somebody dies, it's because they're getting shackled by her. So Mikhail's is a good option here. You could go ahead and just get your, start on your locket. That would be helpful. Anything of that nature. Actually, you could get your locket. Locket's only 1,900 gold, so you have enough to just go back and buy, not locket, sorry, Aegis. You could go back and just buy Aegis. You got your Mikhail, so that's good. You can use that. Mikhail is a high skill cap item to use, so you got to make sure that you practice using it a lot. Put a sticky on your monitor if you're not good at using it, and that will help you remind you. You should be pinging this tower now. Get your team here to help defend it. Alright, you should be with Caitlyn right now. There's no reason to be down here. Dragon is not coming up soon, so you don't need... Oh, she got that. She shouldn't have got that. But if you were mid, then... if you were mid, then you could have made it a safer situation for Caitlyn, because Caitlyn should have died there. Always worry about your team first, and then you can get split off from your team when it's safe. But if someone looks like they're in a situation where they could be in danger, then you want to make sure that they're okay first. Did they counter jungle themselves? Alright. So, I would be calling for a Baron at this point. You just took out their top lane. Morg was bot lane. It's definitely an easy thing for you to do, for you to just go and take Baron. And taking Baron and losing mid tower is definitely worth it. It's a worthwhile trade. Pushing this isn't a bad idea either. Your team has a lot of siege, so not getting the Baron early is fine. You need to be a little bit farther forward. Heal. Oh, your heal is down, okay. That's fine then. You do forget about your heal sometimes, so that's something I would focus on. But you did a good job in that situation, getting the most out of your skills. Auto this. Yep, auto the tower. Always be autoing. And just because you're support or your mage doesn't mean that your auto attacks don't count. Ward here. Okay, that's fine. That's a fine ward. You have this all set for you. You should rotate. Someone's going to go down there to respond. Yep, and at that point you can push mid. You know that Vlad is top, but as soon as Shaco disappears, you want to get out of there. Okay, that was fine. You got out. Yeah, you just don't want to overstay. You should have an upgraded sweeper by now. You should be able to clear like entire sections of forest, not just the little bits that you are able to do with one sweep. Good. That was a really good rotation for you guys. Some of you should be going mid to help save that tower if you can. Okay, so in that situation, here's what I'm talking about with using the slow effectively, okay? Yasuo is running away. Yasuo is melee. He cannot turn and kite, right? So if you had put the slow on yourself and auto-attacked one of them, you could have landed a bubble. Instead, the bubble missed because they were traveling and you didn't predict their movement properly. That's a waste of pink ward at this point in the game. You have full vision and full control. If they see you passing that point in river, I mean, who cares, to be honest with you? You want to have that up somewhere where you're going to possibly ambush or where you can actually keep a ward for a long time. So like here would be a great example. You're chasing a lot with Yasuo. Oh, you guys face check. Auto attack. And don't, yeah, make sure you don't leave Garen. You could have stayed with him more. Again, that's slow. Way more effective on you at this point than it is on him. He didn't even use those procs just because he couldn't catch up to her. You could have autoed her, slowed her, and he could have caught up to her faster and easier. Oh, you're not going to lose that tower. Yep, not your job to clear bot. You are going to lose the tower anyway. And you should be going mid to help. At this point, if you lose the tier 1 tower, but you guys are able to take an inhibitor tower and an inhibitor, it's definitely a worthwhile trade. Alright. You're taking too long to buy. Mobies is a really bad buy late game. It's an early game item, and it's meant for people like Annie or Leona or Thresh who can roam and effectively make use of it early game. Or champions who are really dependent on move speed to hit their skills and keep their presence up. A late game, it actually puts you behind a late game, even if you buy Mobies early. If you don't make use of them early game, then they're actually a hindrance to you late game because they don't offer any stats whatsoever in terms of fighting. You guys are dancing around dragon, it's not coming up, so you need to be more aware of timers and situations. I mean, they don't have any dragon buffs, so you know that it's not up because you have a timer on it. You guys were the last ones to take it. Oh, good bubble. Alright, so you guys are doing well at this point. You just need to close it out. I would take inhib and then I would go dragon if it was me. Ping the inhib, ping the inhib, and then ping Baron. Ping Baron. Ping Baron. Go get Baron. See how far up their minions are? You have super minions coming. If they don't respond to this, then you get Nexus towers. If they do respond to it, then you get free Baron. There's a no-lose situation. Alright, you weren't auto-attacking enough. But I think that's a comfort level thing with you. You just need to get used to auto-attacking. Alright, cool. I'm gonna call you and see if you have any questions.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, how are you?
Oh, good, good.
Cool.
Hey, we got a win out of it. Hey.
You did. That's good. Do you have any questions about anything that happened, or?
Other than the fact that I know that I screwed up quite a few times. No, I'd love to hear what you got to say about it.
Okay. Well, I recorded like a commentary over the entire game, so I'll send that to you
Oh,
after, so you actually get context to everything and you can see where things
sure,
could have been different.
sure.
As far as focus points, you need to auto attack more. It seems like you're very in
Okay,
the mindset of like you're a support, you utility, you don't do damage, but your auto attacks actually build up, and you can actually help win fights just by auto attacking.
okay,
So there's that, or there were even times when you didn't auto attack like structures or things like that. So that's a focus for you.
okay,
Keeping better track of timers, which just takes practice,
okay,
and using your skills more effectively. You missed a lot of bubbles, and those are really important. That's a significant part of her kit. If you're not hitting it, then um, you're at a huge downside, a disadvantage. And then as far as her E, which is a slow, right? Her slow. There are a lot of times when you should be using it on you instead of whoever you're with. And
okay,
I explain throughout that exactly what those situations were. A lot of times you'd use them on like melees who couldn't get the auto attacks off, so it didn't really do anything. And you could
okay,
have either helped peel or you could have helped position a bubble or something if you were using it on you instead.
okay,
So those are situations. And I think those are like good places for you to start. You
okay,
definitely have some mechanic things that you can work on, but like I mentioned in the video, mechanics are decision making is the harder thing to fix.
okay.
Mechanics are all muscle memory. So even if something seems really hard or difficult to do, if you practice enough, you'll just do it. It'll just become second nature.
Sure.
Um, so it's actually a good thing that right now your biggest problems are mechanical,
Okay.
and that will help you get to the next level if you fix those. So yeah. Did you have
Perfect.
any other questions about like things that you encountered in game or you didn't know how to deal with?
Um, Trying to think what I could have, what we could have maybe done differently. I kind of wanted the team to push that bot lane a little bit because there were several waves that went down there. That could have been pushed, I guess, a little earlier when we had a bunch of people mid or kind of mid top kind
Mm-hmm.
of ish. So I was trying to get them to send somebody down there to push that out a little quicker so we could, put pressure on more than one side. Um, so I don't. Is there any different way that you would maybe approach trying to get somebody to do that, help you out with that?
I 3 pings is a suggestion. 5 pings is an order. If you ping it enough, someone will respond to it.
Okay.
But I don't think that bot was nearly as much of a priority as you put on it. At one point, you went to go clear a wave bot when you weren't going to lose tower, and it was just you and your team group mid, and tried to pressure without you. That's not your job. Your job is not to clear waves, and you weren't going to lose the tower anyway. But in that situation, if you had gone mid with your team, then you possibly could have gotten a tower and inhib out of it. And trading, even if you were to lose that tower, trading a tier 1 tower for your for an inhib and an inhibitor tower is more than a beneficial
Oh,
trade.
sure, sure.
So you just want to evaluate different points on the map at the same at and adjust to the circumstances. There are going to be situations where you're going to need to push out bot to get that pressure so that you guys could get Baron. But you guys had top pressured. Garen was split pushing pretty well. And then
Okay.
you guys had mid pressured and somebody died. So at that point, going and pushing bot isn't ideal. Now, if you want to, when everybody like goes back and you say, okay, let's push bot now, or
Hmm.
let's go push bot, 4 bot, 1 go, Garen go top or something,
Hmm.
then that is something that you can do. But when somebody dies and you ended the game and you still had their tier 1, their tier 2 tower down, up. So you won the game without having to push that lane at all. So
Sure.
you don't want to feel pressure. You don't have to, it doesn't need to be 100% completion. You don't need to get
Yep.
every single tower. You just need to adjust. And a lot of that is experience playing the game, making decisions, and some of them will fall flat in your face, and then you'll learn from them.
Hmm.
And if you watch like high level players play or LCS, I don't usually advise, like, you're not going to learn a ton from LCS because they're way out of our
So
skill
far,
level.
yeah, they're just way out there.
Right. But what you can learn is proper rotations and proper situational things like that. So I wouldn't worry about in terms of like their team comps and stuff. You're never going to get those team comps in solo queue.
Sure,
You're just not
sure.
going to. But in terms of when they get a kill, what do they do with it? Or when they take an inhib, where do they go after that? Those types of things that you can learn and you can try to help your team through. And a lot of times, if you prep them ahead of time and be like, okay, let's get inhib and then go Baron, you guys have a set plan. You're not
Mhm.
trying to divert someone's attention from wolves after or something like that. You have a plan.
Okay,
Um, and a lot of that's good communication early in the game. If someone gets a kill, even it doesn't even matter if it was just because the enemy walked into your tower and they happened to die. It doesn't matter. Just act like it was the greatest play you've ever seen. Um,
right.
and it will establish you as like a positive leader within the game, so you can help divert and direct people that way. Um, and but just be like the reason that LCS helps with that is because you'll never see a game in LCS that goes like 45 and 55, right? But it
Right.
happens all the time in solo queue. Like you get like 50 kills in a game.
Hmm.
They get one kill and they take an objective for it. Now, I know a lot of games I play, like I get a kill and then we don't get anything for it. We just can't organize, we can't rotate, things like that. So it really
Sure.
shows you like the optimal ways to get a kill and get something out of it. You should always have a goal of if you get a kill, you want to take something for it. So, all
Okay.
right.
I actually have two quick questions for you.
Yeah.
So as far as the queues go, would it be more optimal to hold on to the queue if I know it most likely isn't going to land and save the mana, or should I pop it and keep the enemy team just kind of on their toes?
No, actually, what you do is when you throw a Q that is not going to land, you actually give them relief.
Okay.
Because when you're holding, it's like a Vigor holding a stun. When it's down, what is the first thing you do? You just jump on him, right? Because you know that his
Right.
stun's down.
Sure.
But in a situation like this, uh, where you're going to be able to, you know you're not going to hit the stun. Once your bubble's
Mhm.
down, they know that they can go on you because you don't have any CC left, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
The other reasons that you want to hold on to a bubble is because ease of landing. So if you know that you're not going to hit it, um, the easiest times to hit a bubble are when someone is CSing. So when you see them going for a CS, right?
Hmm.
When you've slowed them with your E, either you or an ADC has slowed them, or when I was playing Nami, I would ult them and then I would bubble them because by the time they fell back down, the bubble landed on them. So
Right.
those are the easiest times to hit a bubble. Um, and you got to be careful again about who you're using your E on and things like that. So those are the situations that you want to worry about. How effective are you in using Mikhails or your Frost Queens? Honestly.
Um, to be completely honest, if I could get myself to remember that I actually have them, I usually use them pretty effectively. But
Okay.
my biggest problem is for whatever reason, in the moment, I forget that I have the damn thing and I
Yep.
don't use it.
That's really common. So what you do is you get a sticky note and you put it on your monitor. Literally, I'll
Nice.
find somewhere. I have my old monitor upstairs. It literally
Okay.
has cut up sticky notes all around the rim of my monitor that say use trinket, ward, use Mikhails, use whatever, lock it. And they're all around my monitor. So you see them. Um, and what I would do if let's say you get it and you don't use it, then
Hmm.
in a situation where like if it's Frost Queen, which has a really slow, I mean, it has a really quick cooldown. I wouldn't do it on Mikhail's. Mikhail's cooldown's really long. But
Right.
as soon as you remember that you didn't use it, just so that you get used to using it and
Gotcha.
pressing those buttons. And make sure you have them on keys that it looks like you did rearrange them, but
Hmm.
make sure that you have them on keys where you can properly hit them or you remember to use the button. So, like, I
Gotcha.
have a hard time hitting, like, anyone has a hard time hitting 7. Like, who the hell's,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So, never, make sure they're never on 7 and use it on the same key every time. So if
Okay.
your Frost Queen's always on one, then in the heat of the moment, you don't have to think about where is it and then use it. It just happens.
Gotcha. And then I think my last question, and I'll let you go because I know this is over our time.
No, it's okay.
So just having watched and talked and whatnot, do you think moving forward with working on what I can work on that I can get out of bronze?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do. You had some good, like, you have the potential for mechanics, and I hate the word potential, but
Sure.
because potential is often, like, don't use it as an excuse. Like, because if you
No, no,
do,
no,
then
no,
it just
no.
becomes wishful thinking. But you have some good mechanics. If you can practice your other mechanics and get them to the same skill level, then you can get out of bronze. But it has to be a very disciplined thing. Like, you're going to think about it, you're going to do it. You can't just hope that they get better. So, for example, I played a lot of FPS games before I played this. I played a ton of
Hmm.
like Call of Duty and stuff, but I took it very casually. I played a lot, but I was never the person who was like memorizing the maps, learning the guns, learning to aim. So I never got better no matter how much I played with it, right? It was just
Right.
something I didn't want to take very seriously. I just had fun doing it. It was that I got a little bit better just from playing, but it was whatever. It was a mindless thing for me. It was just to have fun.
Hmm.
The same thing happens with League. If you're going to put cognizant effort on how many minions are in my lane, how many minions do they have, am I going to win this trade, then eventually your mind doesn't have to count minions anymore. Eventually you just see the situation. It's the same thing with CSing. Like everybody who I teach people in every lane. So the biggest thing that everyone has to work on is CSing, and people are like, I hate going into bot games. It's so boring. Okay, well, I mean, you then at that point you're making a decision not to get better, right? Because if you
Sure.
don't feel like practicing, and I hate doing it, I hate going into bot games. That's what I was doing before we got in our lesson. And I
Hmm.
don't even play any lanes other than support really, but it's important to know how to do.
Hmm.
And but you eventually do it and you do it enough that it becomes second nature. So my boyfriend plays ADC, and when he was learning, he actually had a friend who was really good at the game. And
Hmm.
no joke, he stood behind Dave, and every time he missed a minion, he smacked him with a newspaper.
Nice.
Eventually, he stopped missing minions. But now, like, he used to have to do it, and he's trying to explain it to me because I'm trying to learn. Like, you
Right.
have to, at some point, like, when he started out, he clicked the minion to see how much health it had, and then when it was low enough, he'd kill it, right? Or he would hit stop in between each minion. He couldn't move between each minion. Eventually, your brain just sees low health, kill, and then you can add in things like moving, and you can add in things like harassing the enemy. But it's a step by step process. So for you, it's going to take some time. You're going to have to consciously think, okay, Kalista is going to hit this minion. This minion's low. I know that she's going to walk up and she's going to try to hit it. I know that her range is approximately this. When she gets in range, when she goes to auto, I'm going to Q her, I'm going to auto her, I'm going to use my W on her, and I'm going to walk out. And you are going to consciously have to think all of that. And eventually, she's going to go up to CS, and you're just going to bubble auto heal or whatever, and you're just going to do it all in one situation. It's just going to be instantaneous for you because you're going to know how to do it.
Sure.
You're slow. It works in midair. So if you had a couple times where you used your E on Caitlyn and she already had an auto attack in midair, and it was great because they can't react to it fast enough.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if that's something that you practice or if it just kind of accidentally happened, but if it accidentally happened, then that's something that you should focus on. Every time Caitlyn looks like she's going to harass the enemy, you want to E her while it's in midair. And then eventually you will no longer think about it. It's like when you watch really good Janna players and it looks like they shield almost like they like are 30 seconds in the future and they know what's going to happen. Like the shield just appears there. Like you don't even see their cursor. It just happens, right?
Hmm.
It's the same kind of, it becomes muscle memory. And once things are muscle memory, then you can focus on other things in the game. So, and that's the reason why, again, going back to like which champions you play, like all
Sure.
these things with Nami, that's all muscle memory. So once you get all of those nailed down with her and they become muscle
Hmm.
memory, then you don't have to think about them. You can think about the game. So it's just a matter of practicing those over and over and over until you no longer have to think about them, if that makes
Makes a lot of
sense.
sense. No, it makes perfect sense. I appreciate your time very much. That's a
No
lot of
problem.
good stuff to think about.
I hope so. I hope it's
So
helpful.
No, it is. It absolutely is. And, listening to your guys' podcast and whatever, just, some of the things that I do now that I didn't do before, like, when to play swords, where to play swords,
Hmm.
um, you know, times to go in, times not to go in, trying to be nice to people, all that kind of stuff.
It helps,
Every
right?
I usually pick something small out of each one, and it helps me out along the way. So,
That's the biggest thing is don't try. So the game is enormous, right?
oh yeah,
There's so much to learn. There's the pros know the cooldowns of every single champion. I mean, they spend, that's their job. Like, they spend
hmm
hours and hours knowing everything in this game. Like, we don't, the rest of us have jobs, we have other things to do, like, we can't
sure,
devote that much time. And honestly, if you try to take that all in at one time, and I know this because I tried to do it when I was Bronze 4, and I tried to do everything at one time, you don't
hmm
make progress because your focus is not directed appropriately. So if you take like one or two things a week that you're going to work on and you get them and you master them and then you move on from there, and it will help you because then that one thing you won't have to think about anymore, and then you can start focusing on other things.
makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Days, for your time.
Oh,
I
you're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad we got to do it. So let me know if you ever want another one or if you need any more help with anything, okay?
Oh, perfect. So the upload, where or how can I get that?
I'll send it to you on Skype because I didn't stream it. I just recorded it.
Okay,
And I will send it to you over Skype, okay?
perfect. Thank you so much, and you have a great day.
All right, thanks. Bye.
See ya.